As you know by now, King Abdullah is dead. The king of Saudi Arabia died at the age of 90. And coming to the throne will be his 79-year-old half-brother, I believe. His name is Salman ibn Abdul Aziz. And joining us right now to talk about what all this means is a world expert on Saudi Arabia. He is a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. It's a pleasure to welcome to the show Dr. David Andrew Weinberg. Dr. Weinberg, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning. How are you?
Fine. Thanks for coming on with us. We appreciate it. What can you tell us about the new king of Saudi Arabia, Salman ibn Abdul Aziz?
Well, first of all, I can tell you got that name exactly correct. It's
Wow.
not an easy one.
That's very rare for me. I get my own name wrong 3 out of 5 times.
And he was the longtime governor of the capital in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. So he served in that role since John F. Kennedy was president until after the Arab Spring. So 48 years. He saw the city transform from basically a dusty desert outpost to instead being a austere but still very built-up world capital, and he played a very significant role rounding up support for Mujahideen holy warriors on behalf of Saudi royal family members in Afghanistan and the Balkans.
And one of the ironies, too, from an American perspective also, is Saudi Arabia described as one of our closest allies. The construction of modern Saudi Arabia has largely been done by Bin Laden, the Bin Laden Construction Group.
Yeah, it's definitely a big irony, and the Bin Laden Group is actually playing a significant part in some of the remodeling going on right now in Mecca, the holiest city in Islam.
Now, the new king is 79 years old, 79 or almost 80 years of age. So normally, when the old king dies, if a young king comes in, you would expect the youthful energy to be more dynamic, either in terms of liberalization or even repression, be more activist. But it's not like the Saudis have elevated a young man he's only young in comparison.
Exactly. Neo-King Salman was the public face of the Saudi regime in many ways even before his half-brother's death yesterday. He went to a number of different world capitals recently to represent the country, including in Asia, Australia, Paris. But he also has some serious question marks about his functioning capabilities. He's been alleged to have dementia or maybe even Alzheimer's and has had back surgery before. So one of the challenges in Saudi Arabia will be navigating ultimately succession to a younger generation.
Now, what is the process of secession in Saudi Arabia? It's a family affair, that's for sure. But how is the line of succession determined? So,
as of now, the line of succession has, in the last 24 hours, been reestablished again. So the next in line will be the new king's half-brother, Mughrin, who is the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. And then beyond him, just newly appointed in the last few hours, the interior minister, the new king's nephew, Mohammed bin Nayef, has been appointed the deputy crown prince. So he will be the second in line for the throne. These decisions are also ratified by what's called an allegiance council that was created in 2006, but in effect it's basically just prominent princes get together and the most senior among them confirm what the power balance among them already suggests.
We're talking with Dr. David Andrew Weinberg, who is a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. You can follow him on Twitter at David A. Weinberg. We know right now that the Saudis are essentially dumping oil on the market at nearly a loss, with the intended goal, apparently, of bankrupting American drilling operations in particular. Is that policy likely to continue under the new king? And if not, why not?
Odds are good that the policy will probably continue, but there are some indicators to watch for about whether it could change. The new king Salman indicated that he supported continuity with the policies of the state since its foundation, including by his father as well as his half-brothers, so that could include the oil policy. And he parroted, or actually in the name of his brother, delivered a speech on behalf of his older brother earlier this month that noted that Saudi Arabia would move ahead with oil policy. Now, obviously, he may have views of his own that he didn't share at that time. His son, Abdulaziz, is a prominent official in the Saudi oil ministry who did voice some concerns about the current policy. So one indicator to watch will be whether the oil minister has his power chipped away at in the months ahead, but he has been retained for now.
The women still cannot drive in Saudi Arabia. Is there any likelihood that on human rights, the new Saudi king will loosen the leash that certainly women, but so many Saudis live under?
Frankly, it's sadly unlikely. The new king did not push a particularly progressive line in Riyadh when he was governor there, although he was somewhat of a technocrat. He's indicated on women driving previously that he sees it as an issue for society to decide, despite the fact that a poll by Gallup has indicated that a majority of both men and women in Saudi Arabia would support the right of women to drive. And in fact, by picking his nephew to become the deputy crown prince, so second in line to the throne, he was elevating an official who runs the interior ministry, which is basically the part of the Saudi government that's been perpetrating a very oppressive campaign against nonviolent human rights defenders. So it's not very encouraging at this point.
Well, there could obviously be surprises, but the key word really appears to be continuity, which means more of what we've seen from Saudi Arabia over many years. Thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate your insights into it. Dr. David Andrew Weinberg from the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies.